You are listening to Unfuck Your Mind with the real, raw, colorful, authentic, empowering, controlled profanity-loving human Zach Lyotis, soul activator, master key holder, and intergalactic elder. Zach loves to find lessons in adversity to advocate humanity one listener at a time. She also enjoys having fun along the way. Check her out at zachlyotis.com to see what she's up to. But for now, let's pass it off to Zach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unfuck Your Mind. I'm your host, Zach Lyotis. And in today's podcast, I have Althea Branton. She's a breakup coach that helps ambitious women take a minute after their heart's been I knew I was going to screw up on that word. Decimated. I'll do that over again. Because I said it and I was like, I'm going to screw up when I say that. So I put it out there. I'm not going to screw up.
You got this. You got this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unfuck Your Mind. I'm your host, Zach Lyotis, and in today's podcast, I have Althea Branton. She's a breakup coach that helps ambitious women take a minute after their heart's been decimated to move on to an amazing relationship with themselves. Althea understands heartbreak like LeBron James knows basketball. She also knows that it's possible to wake up one morning and feel complete freedom from the pain. She's a super mommy to a beautiful boy. Once a time, Althea was a track and field champion. She adores British TV and can also read 1,000 words per minute. And guys, her fabulous parents tested her on this, so no need to challenge her. Althea, welcome to the show, my little reading genius. How are you?
Thank you, Zach. I am well and staying warm. I'm well.
Yes. You know, when I read the 1,000 words per minute, I was like, dang, girl, how many books can you read in a day? Like,
you really want to know?
Like, seriously, 1,000 words is like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes me a day, maybe two, to go through a regular size novel.
Wow. Is there like an art to that?
I don't know. It just happened. Like, it was just something I could do. You know, it's with any gift, you just kind of do it and it's just there. And so for me, it was just, I could just read. And I learned to read at an early age. I learned to read at 3.
Wow.
So yeah. I don't know if you remember the Little House on the Prairie novels.
Yeah.
I read an entire novel. I was on the toilet. I must have been 8. And they're knocking on the door thinking I've like fallen in, I'm sick. And I couldn't put it down. And these things are like 400 or 500 pages.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and so needless to say, after that, I was not allowed to read in the bathroom anymore.
Wow. That's where I get some of the best wisdom is when I'm in the bathroom. This is
what I'm saying. So no. Yeah, exactly. It's a quiet place. You're able to contemplate. You're usually not disturbed. Yeah. So allow it. Let it in. I just don't read anymore there. I read everywhere else.
Incredible. Like when I read that, I was like, I won't even challenge you on that because at the end of the day, there's no need for anyone to challenge you. I mean, your parents already challenged you for crying out loud and got you tested. So
yeah, I went through extensive testing as a kid, comprehension, spelling, grammar. Like they would give me a passage. They would say, okay, read this. They would time me, answer these questions just to see like, am I actually retaining the information I'm reading? And of course, the answer is yes.
That's amazing. Do you skip words or do you read every word?
It depends. Sometimes, when you're skimming something.
Yeah.
Sometimes with email, because, when you get email, you're like, okay, just get on with it. So, yeah, I will skip words sometimes. But if I'm reading something, like I'm reading a book or a novel or something like that, no, I will read every word. It just doesn't take me as long as everybody else. That's it.
That's genius. I want to say I want to try that, but I'm just thinking about it. I'm killing myself laughing. It ain't happening. I'm okay with that. Let's go up to the breakup coach because really that's what we want to talk about is the breakup coach. Now that we know that you're a genius at reading.
Thank you.
You can read divorce contracts really well.
Oh, stink. I wish.
Oh my God. I just had to crack that one up because, a lot of energy around breakups these days. I find either you're with your spouse, or you're not without your spouse, or you're trying to figure it out. It's not working out. So give us that little take on what brought you down that alley. Because you say, breakup like LeBron James knows basketball. And I know LeBron James knows basketball.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I have to say, this is why becoming a breakup coach is not something like you just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to be a breakup coach. It involved. It was something I fell into as I started getting into coaching. I was doing some practice sessions, and I actually helped an old colleague. He had just broken up with his fiance, and he was like, I gotta get back out there, and I gotta meet somebody new. And I'm like, okay, just let's take a time out for a minute. Are you absolutely 100% sure that you want to go down that road? Like, you have told me that you were about to marry this person and now you're not together anymore. Are you absolutely sure you want to go? Because the world tells you you can't be single.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable to be single. If you look on Instagram, and I'm going to use Instagram as an example, hashtag relationship goals, shiny, happy pictures of people coupled up doing coupley things. And then there's always images of people who are single, who are just miserable. They look haggard. They're not doing anything with their lives.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to myself, okay, wait a minute. Is that actually true? Is that actually true that the minute you end a relationship, whether you were the person to end it or somebody ended it on your behalf, because likely that happens a lot, is it actually beneficial to jump back into something with someone else?
Yeah, I would say no to that.
No. So I was able to work with this client and just have this client just take a minute, literally, well, I say a minute, but take some time to themselves, figure them out. This client was unhealthy, was smoking too much, wasn't exercising, wasn't achieving their goals, didn't have great relationships with other people. And I thought, okay, so it's kind of like, somebody's coming over to your house for dinner, but you haven't taken out the garbage in 3 weeks. There's recycling everywhere. You haven't done laundry. Your house is a mess and it smells funny, but you're going to have them over anyway. Be like, ooh, look at me.
You're in a funk, and it's not about funky music here.
No, it is certainly not. It is certainly not. There's funk and then there's funk.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're in that space and you're saying to yourself, I got to get back out there because there's this pressure.
Yeah.
So we worked together, and eventually it took some doing. However, I got my client to a point where they started to realize, I'm the most important person in my life.
Yes. Yeah.
I need to have a relationship with me. And one of the reasons why breakups hurt so bad, there's a couple. One is that all of a sudden, you got to face you. You are left with you. You're left with your stuff. And the reason why we jump to somebody else is that we don't want to face all that stuff. We don't want to face all of our issues, drama, quirks, everything that everybody tells us makes us wonderful. We don't want to face all of that. So we automatically just go find someone else to worry about. And then we're all like, oh my God, I can't live without this person. No, you can. You've just transferred all of your energy that you would give to you onto someone else. And now it's time to take that energy back.
I love that you're saying that, because there's people, it's like, I need to replace the person I was with someone new, because I feel, something that drives me nuts when someone says, I feel incomplete without someone. Well, sweetheart, no, you're incomplete within yourself. No one, when people say he or she completes me, and I'm like, I never realized that you're half. You come to this world whole. So belief in you that you are incomplete unless you find someone. And then you're going to be with someone, and then it's almost like you're selling the soul to the devil because you're afraid of being by yourself. And then you're afraid of breaking up because how about if you don't find that perfect somebody? You're going down these same patterns but with a different shiny person now that hasn't fully known you for who you are until they figure you out, and then either they may walk away or run away, and then you're going through that same hurt again.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it, you know, which is why my mission is for women to, especially women, we don't take care of ourselves. We are hardwired to nurture and give. It doesn't matter if you have children or not. We always want to do something for somebody else before ourselves.
True. And it's funny because the woman is the nurturing aspect, but the man's the protective aspect. Mm-hmm. And men feel like they fully need to protect a woman. But really, at the end of the day, knowing a man, if he fully knows himself, he doesn't need to try to protect anyone because he's a natural protector. And a woman doesn't need to nurture anyone because she's a natural nurturer.
And see, women are natural protectors. Have you ever gone into the forest and tried to mess with a mama bear's cubs?
That's you.
Right?
And that's the whole thing. So I love that you help people find them, to take that minute out to fix their, their broken heart or their ruptured heart, and to not feel like they need someone else in order to feel whole.
Yes, because you don't.
What are some discoveries? So do you only work with females or do you work with males as well?
I have worked with men in the past. I'm not going to say, if a man comes to be brokenhearted, I will not say no.
Okay.
Because really, a broken heart knows no bounds.
Exactly.
Knows no color lines. I just happen to enjoy working with women.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see, especially now in this day and age, I do want to see women rise. At the same time, I'm raising a son. And I'm very cognizant of the signals and the lessons that he's going to get out there in the world, because there is still this element of boys will be boys and how men are supposed to be.
Oh, that drives me crazy.
It really does. And when I see these things, I think, do I want my son to learn these ideals? No, I don't. Mm-hmm. So yes, if I can help a man understand that it's important for him to be grounded in himself,
yeah,
it's just as important for a woman to do the same.
Absolutely. I totally feel you on that. So working with women that their heart's been decimated, what are the patterns that you have realized the most, just as a whole? Because I know there's certain traits that we have on an individual basis, but I know there's certain traits that we all carry as a whole. So what would be some patterns that come up all the time with, women that you're working with?
A lot of the times I see it's about fulfilling something that society has told them. There's a lot of outside pressure, family pressure to get married. It could be cultural even. Thinking that, we all have a certain path. You grow up, you go to some kind of post-secondary institution, graduate, job, get married, 2.7 kids, mortgage, house, retirement, dead. That's the way our lives are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So somewhere along the lines, you're trying to follow this, whoever laid this out, who knows, but you're trying to follow this path, and all of a sudden it starts kind of falling by the wayside. Something didn't work. And because that something didn't work, it's like, okay, did I do something wrong? Is there something wrong with me? Because when you look out into social media, and social media has really exacerbated this over the last, I'd say, decade. When you see images of, classmates, friends who are living that certain path, you begin to think, oh my God, I'm a failure.
Yeah, so true.
Oh my God, nobody wants me. Oh my God, there must be something hideously wrong. I'm the ugly stepsister. I will never get Prince Charming.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, we as women, we are not told that we are fine and grounded and solid, and we stand strong within ourselves. We have to have that other person.
Yeah.
To complete us. Yes. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of kind of detoxing from these societal pressures, and I see videos of women talk about how they have never had children. They don't desire children, and they're wondering why they're getting so much flack for it. Like, oh, you'll want one in the end, or, oh, you just haven't met the right person yet. Why do we have to feel this way? Why do we have to believe these things?
Yeah. And who's making us feel this way? And it's
the same people, Zach, that tell us that everybody should wear skinny jeans.
Even though you don't feel skinny in them.
No.
And the love handles, as they call it, what do they call it? The muffin top is just
muffin tops and saddlebags, and just you know what? I'm sick of it. I'm tired of sausaging myself and such things. So I have taken a stand, and I have just said no. You know, I'm curvy. I have accepted that.
Yeah, girl. What are they called? Apple bottoms? Get yourself some apple bottoms.
I'm telling you, I will rock it. I will rock what I've been given. It's that simple.
You know, and this is something I was listening to a divine sacred masculine this morning. He says, you know, I always have this issue. People say to me, why are you single? And, you know, and I've heard this from a lot. Zach, why are you, out of all people, why are you single? And I'm like, well, do you see the variety, the inventory that there is out there? Have you seen the inventory I have to work with? You know, what I am seeking is not the general public. This is someone that comes from a different realm altogether. So until him and I connect, I am happy with being single. I am happy with keeping my bed warm, and I am happy with having, you know, breakfast by myself. Because at the end of the day, I am not going to allow myself to just bring anyone in because someone's telling me that I should have someone. No, thank you.
But see, the difference here is that you have embraced and accepted you. You have developed that relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. So when you find yourself by yourself, you're not actually by yourself. You're with yourself.
Exactly. I love that.
Yes, that's an entirely different concept. We are taught music, media, movies, all kinds of messages that we get, that you are not a complete and whole person. You are lacking something. Be it the car, the clothes, the money, the lifestyle, the income, the bottle of champagne. You don't have something, therefore you are lacking. You are not whole. Mm-hmm. A lot of heartbreak isn't just about the feelings. Like there was this individual, you shared something really special, you shared a connection, and now it's done. That in itself is heartbreaking. But the most heartbreaking thing of all is having to face someone who you've been with your entire life, and you can't even stand to look at this person in the mirror. And no matter what you do, you cannot get rid of this person. You can't make them go away.
Yeah.
So you either have to, figure something out. You either have to deal with them and start facing that person head on, or you're just going to keep filling that void with the same old. And you're right. We don't want to admit that, you know, we don't have to be with someone. The person, whoever we're supposed to be with, they will find us in the end.
And it's so true. Stop. Like I always tell some of my girls that I work with, I've worked with a lot of people coming out of divorce, or people calling me to say, Zach, I need to divorce him or her. I've worked with predominantly females, but there's the odd men that be like, you know, you're like a straight shooter. Like there's no hold barns with you, Zach. Like you say it the way it is. And sometimes when I need to hear someone tell me, I like to talk to you because you put me in my space. And it's not about putting you in your space. It's about recognizing who you are, and stop taking the abuse from your spouse and start recognizing who you are. So I've helped women transition from marriage to divorce to now being in a new relationship, and I haven't seen the marriage yet on other aspects. But I noticed even like what you're saying, I used to be like, so what was your sex life like? And they're like, oh, it was treacherous. Like I didn't even want them in bed with me. And like, I would just
with them?
Do the emotion. I'm like, ew, so why be there? Yeah. You know how sacred that is, you know, like, so it's like a woman really digging into her suffering to find her glory. It feels like.
That's exactly it. It's about taking that space for yourself. Think of it this way. Usain Bolt, and I use sports references because, you know, I used to be an athlete. Usain Bolt ran. I am an athlete. I chase after a toddler every day. That's a marathon in itself. So take Usain Bolt, world-class sprinter. runs the 100 meters, 9.959 seconds. After that race, what does he do? He runs a victory lap, waves to the cameras, takes some pictures. Does he set up, be like, I'm going to go to the start line and run that again?
Yeah.
No. Absolutely not. When you've had that element, when you've had that celebration, and now it's finished, let it be. And take a rest. Take a minute to yourself. There's so much out there that says you have to do all these things, go out with your girlfriends, get drunk, watch Netflix, eat ice cream, which, all of that stuff inherently isn't really wrong, but it's not addressing the core problem. And the core problem is now you have to face yourself. Now you are facing your stuff. And that is hella scary.
It is, because it's your truth.
Nobody wants to do it. No one wants to face their stuff. We're so told to just mask it. We have to face ourselves. We cannot divorce ourselves. We cannot break up with ourselves. We can't ghost ourselves. We ghost ourselves. No, actually we do. We ghost ourselves all the time.
Yeah, because it's that veil, it's that mask that you're holding on to and pretending that everything is so glorious. Meanwhile, your heart is just beat up, tormented, torn to shreds. And now you want someone out there. You're looking for the external factor to heal you. And then once they leave you, now you're even more pissed off, more suffering. Why do I keep on finding this type of a person that I'm dating? Well, sweetheart, because you're vibrating at that vibrational frequency.
So why not take a moment to step back from that frequency, right? So if we're vibrating at a level that's attracting what we don't want, why are we rushing ahead to just, okay, we got to find it. Why can't we take a minute to tune the channel?
Yeah. And when you're working with these women, how much fear comes to the surface?
All the time.
In what areas of their life the most? Because I know when I work with them, but I'm talking about you now. And I want to know, where is all the fear for the women that you work with on that level?
The fear is showing up in the world as just themselves.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one, because we want to have a label, right? We are teacher, friend, wife, lover, I work as a VP, I'm this, I'm that. We want to, define ourselves by something external, but just let yourself sink into your own soul. And not only just sink into your own soul, but start to discover that inside us is such a source, an infinite source of wisdom, an infinite source of knowledge, an infinite source of knowing. We know. You know that person that you were dating was bad for you. You know it.
You just didn't want to believe it, or didn't want to
believe it. You don't want to face it. That's why we ghost ourselves, because we don't want to connect to that knowing. That knowing knows what's good and what's bad, whatever is considered good and bad.
Yeah.
It's one thing is you see a lot of, and I see this online all the time, spiritual gurus, and I'm using air quotes here, teachers that want us to vibrate high all the time. And if we did that, would we get anything done? No, we wouldn't get anything done.
And I know that because I've been in, people say I'm in 5D, and I'm like, sweetheart, perfect that you're there. But I was in a dimension for 2 years that there was no number that I wanted to even put towards it because it was really, really high. And people say, well, you can't really live there. And I'm like, test me. I've been there for 2 years. I've had people say, Zach, take me there. But ask me what I did in that place. I actually ended up in depression because I didn't see the ego from that space. I only saw the so-called, again, air quotes, love of an individual. Meanwhile, there was the demon that rose higher than the love. But being at such a high dimension, you miss out and you take yourself out of that reality. So I learned to ground myself a lot. So yeah, you're right. You need to stay in that grounded space to really grow from. You know, Mother Earth was saying to me, Zach, come down. I'd be like, no, I love it up here. It's so blissful. And she would say, no, come down. We have stuff for you on Earth. I'm like, no.
It's so true.
Right? And then I remember when I landed, I was like, what the fuck? Like, why did I not land sooner?
Mm-hmm.
And all the suffering happened in like dimension 555 that if I landed on Earth, I would have recognized something. Right? So this is, and I love that you brought that up because it's the truth. A
lot of the work that I do is helping to ground those energies, take all these emotions, because there's different sides to all of us. There's a light and a dark. There's a shadow. There's the bliss. We can't. So if you take a farm, for example, on a farm, if it's sunny 100% of the time, the crops won't grow. If it rains 100% of the time, the crops won't grow. The crops need a blend of the sun and the rain.
Yeah.
Just as we need the blend of the light and the dark, we need a blend of the shadow and the bliss.
So true.
A lot of the work that I do is helping to ground the energies into Mother Earth, just like a tree.
Yeah.
Trees can withstand, you name it. Once their roots are planted, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Come tsunamis, come snowstorms. And I say this because I'm in Canada. Snowstorms, rain, snow, hail. It doesn't matter. That tree, it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. Present. It's present. It stands strong. And no amount of element, whatever that comes, and it's curious in the wintertime, it sheds its protection and stands there and faces the cold and the snow completely bare.
And with grace. And with grace.
Absolutely. So a lot of the work that I do is from that spiritual aspect to, yes, there are times where it's good to be in that X dimension where we are sky high, everything is wonderful, love and bliss. But it's also good to be in your shadow because in those shadows are lessons. In those shadows is where we are able to hear the knowing, where we're able to connect to the wisdom, connect to our knowledge.
Yeah, so true. Oh, I love that you brought that up. So have you gone through, we usually work with people when we usually have gone through something. So I would feel that you've gone through some heartbreak, that you had to heal from it and, cross your shadow and really recognize who Althea was.
Yes. So that happened almost 3 years ago now. And I had my son. My son was born on my birthday by emergency C-section.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a fun day. I spent most of it on morphine, and there's parts of the day I don't remember to this day. But when I held him for the first time, I looked down at him and something inside me said, I'm going to raise this child by myself.
Oh, I just got goosebumps all over my body. Whew. Wow.
I seem to do that to people.
I have goosebumps all over my body as you just said that. Crazy.
So I was afraid at first because I was married at the time and I didn't know what that meant. So 6 months later, after I held my son for the first time, is when I left my husband with my son. So I knew that, and also in that moment, when I heard that voice say, you're going to raise this child by yourself, it was almost as if I woke up, that I had been asleep for almost 20 years, for most of my adult life, and everything was clear. And when I woke up and I saw what was around me, and I was holding this baby boy, something wasn't right. I wasn't happy. I was overweight. Well, pregnant, that do that to you. But carrying a human, you kind of put on the pounds a bit. But I just did not like where my life was.
Okay.
I was not happy. There were times I felt like I couldn't breathe, that I would look up and I would see the sun. And then for a minute, I would feel hope. And then in the next minute, I would be told that everything is down and there's no hope. And I just would feel suffocated.
Wow.
So when I was holding my son, I knew that I didn't want to feel that way. I didn't want to bring this child into this world where I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And if I can't breathe, he certainly is not going to breathe. So 6 months after my son was born, I left my marriage, which I knew was over. It had been over for some time, literally with nothing. So in essence, I had broken my own heart because in that 6 month period, I had realized I had married the wrong person.
Wow. More goosebumps going through my body. See, and I'm saying this because I know many women walk down that aisle in the knowingness that they shouldn't marry the person that they're about to marry, but they still do it because there's a form of embarrassment because, oh, now the marriage broke up, or now like we told her that it wasn't going to work out, and they don't want the other person to believe that they were right. It's that pride, it's that ego, right? I spoke to ladies years ago, and, you know, I remember, I'll never forget this one woman I was talking to. We were working, and she says, I said, you know, tell me about what happened with your life. And she had a son as well. And she goes, I was just about to get married, and my dad in the limo said, baby, it's not too late. I'm getting goosebumps telling you that because it's like so powerful. I know this could resonate with a lot of women, this conversation. And she said to her dad, I don't want to marry him. And he said, then turn the limo. I want to cry, and turn the limo around, baby. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't go to the church. She really left them at the altar.
Mm-hmm.
And she said,
which is a crazy form of heartbreak. It really is.
Yeah.
But sometimes it has to be done.
Yeah.
I had to go, and I'm not sorry I did.
No, and you shouldn't be sorry because something inside of your child came out to give you that message. He's your messenger.
You did.
Right? So that's such a beautiful story, even though you had to go through that heartbreak. So did you heal through this and recognizing the infinite power you had inside of you and that you had to face your shadow?
Yes, I moved home. So here I am, you know, an older mom, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I felt like such a failure because that path that I had mentioned before, the school, job, kids, mortgage, house, whatever, I had completely fallen off that path, and I felt like a disaster. And now I have this child, this baby that I'm bringing into my world, which was in flames, was just completely on fire. And I knew that I had to get it together.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to grow up in this tumultuous atmosphere. I knew that I had to somehow recognize, okay, what do I need to do to create the life that I want for my son?
Yeah.
And that, it wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to go back to school or get a better job. It wasn't anything like that. It was all inner work. It was all feeling, how do I feel about myself? And it was a lot of it started with forgiveness. I had to look at myself and forgive myself for marrying the wrong person. That's really where it started. It started with self-forgiveness and self-compassion. And that took weeks, maybe months, to finally be okay with myself. Because if I'm not okay with myself, who's going to be okay with me?
Yes, true.
I had to be okay with that. I had to make peace with it. So that was the first thing I did, was really forgive myself for going through that. And you know what? My son is incredible. My son is a gift. I tell him every day that he is a gift. Mm-hmm. So would I go back and do things differently? Maybe, but then I wouldn't have my son.
Yeah. You always have to look at the blessing, and in that blessing is their biggest lesson. So him being your blessing, it's almost like I keep on hearing the word Messiah, because I crack up jokes, but I'm not going to crack up this joke because this is no joking matter right now. But he was your little Messiah that came to say, Mom, this is not for you. I'm here to save you. Step into your power, Mom. Mm-hmm. And you recognize that little voice within him, and you said, you know what, I gotta bite my pride and chew up my ego and deal with my shadow and my knowingness, because I'm sure you knew that you married the wrong person when you married the wrong person. Yeah. Right? Usually everyone does, but they don't want to face that. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of gave you that heads up to say, it's okay, we could make this together. Yeah. And that's the most beautiful part, that you listened. Yes. You listened. And the journey in front of you is going to be hard. Of course, you know that. Yeah. But look where you are now with that and helping other people. And I love that you went through forgiveness, because forgiveness is the best healer you could do for yourself. It's not about the other person. No. It's not like you're going to forget because you're forgiving. You forgive you. And that, when you're saying that, I felt the goosebumps going again throughout my whole body, because it's the truth. And women and men, I'm not going to just categorize women, because men have to do the same thing too, is go with that sense of forgiveness. This is a heart. This is not male, female, black, white, yellow, green. This is not about millions you're making, pennies. This is about your heart. It has nothing, no status. Once you go through that forgiveness, it's huge. So recognizing who you were after that, how did that change your life? Because you recognize who you were in that suffering.
Yeah. I really, after the forgiveness, it was like I had cleared out all the stuff that was suffocating and preventing my inner knowing and my inner world, that was preventing it from me actually hearing it and actually connecting to it.
Yeah.
So it was almost like, when you clean out a chimney and then the smoke can't go anywhere. And then when you clean out the chimney, it can finally rise to the surface and then escape to the sky. It was that same kind of clearing out. I had that forgiveness cleared out all the stuff that was preventing me from connecting to my inner world. Once I was able to do that, I could do anything, when my son would be, I remember being up all night because he had a fever, teething, all of those things when you're a new mom and everyone and their mother has advice and they're telling you what to do. And I just kind of say, no, you know what? I'm not going to pay attention to anything you have to say. This is about me and my son. It's not about anybody else. Yeah. So all of that stuff I was able to face because I had connected finally. My head and my heart had connected to that inner wisdom. So once I was able to do that, it was just, okay, I know this is not going to be an overnight process. And now it's been more than 2 years since my son's almost 3. I'm still going through that process of developing and nurturing that relationship with my own self. Yes. Like I said before, I can't break up with myself.
Yeah.
I can't divorce myself. This is what I've got until I don't have it anymore. I got to work with what I've got.
And I love that you bring that up, because listen, I'm 45 years old. I, went through cancer at 20, a lot of depression, a lot of heartbreak, and you're not going to heal in 6 months. I love when people say to me, oh, I went to 3 sessions with someone, I'm healed. And I'm just like, stop lying to yourself. So I love that you said, I'm still going through it, because it's true. We're still digging and still recognizing who we are in the eyes of the divine, because we don't even believe that we could be that person that, God, source, grace, whatever you want to call it. I call it God. But we can't even believe we're that person without all the belief systems, the patterns, the imprints, the wounds, right? God says, I brought you on this earth perfect, that you just been breeded with all this other suffering. And now you have to work through the suffering to recognize who you truly are. Yep. And, people think, oh, I've done 2 or 3 sessions. I feel great. I'm healed. And it's just like, stop lying to yourself.
It's precisely why my program has no end date. It's whatever it is you want it to be. I don't believe in 12 weeks you can get from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel you want to work with me for 3 months, great. 6 months, a year, wonderful. If you feel you're good in a month, great. It's whatever it is to you. Because you're right. You can't be, if you can't say to someone, okay, I can guarantee that you're going to be, not heartbroken in 3 days.
Yeah.
Life is a journey.
Exactly.
I can certainly help along the way. And if I've done something to have someone have a transformation, I am truly grateful that I know that I have achieved what I've come to do. But our paths are completely different.
Yeah.
We are not destined for one specific thing. We learn lessons along the way. I'm sure I will be dealing with this probably for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Which, that's okay.
Yeah, you deal with different levels of it, right? Different shadows.
You absolutely do.
Different levels.
You absolutely.
Yeah.
There is stages. I went through a forgiveness stage. I went through an acceptance stage.
Mm-hmm.
I had to accept that I made the choice. I also took responsibility for the choices that I made. I took responsibility for myself. And that for me is such a fundamental belief. We need to take responsibility for our actions.
So true.
We need to, you can't just, if your heart is broken and then you're like, oh, it's that person's fault. It's that person's fault. Okay, maybe they cheated. Maybe they did something that was untoward. Okay, great. Now what?
Yeah. I love that you're saying that. It's easy to point the finger at someone else, but we forget that there was always red flags in front of us that we decided to ignore in that meantime. And now because that, the can of worms opened up and presented themselves, and now you're saying it's because of him or her that I'm feeling this. No, it's because you ignored your inner gut that you continued going, so you didn't want to believe that. And that's why I know that, you going through this process, it's a great way to help other people through this process because it's relatable. It's so relatable. A broken heart's a broken heart. Just the only difference is the journey at the end of the day. It's a different person, but the broken heart is a broken heart. I always say cancer and divorce are the same thing. It's just that cancer could be debilitating if you want it to be, just like divorce could be debilitating if you want it to be, or it could be smooth sailing. I mean, I could speak about cancer because I went through it 22 years ago, and everyone always says to me, hashtag fuck cancer. I'm like, no. I say I embraced in cancer. I allowed cancer to show me, just like I tell people when they go through that divorce, and just like how you went through, it's like, what was it to show me? And it showed you that, you know what, Althea, you could help people through this process too, as much as you're helping yourself through this process. So I bow to you, girl. Seriously, I bow to you because it takes a powerful woman to really say, yeah, I went through this. I know how you feel. And this is what I did. And I know where I am today. And yes, I still have healing to do. And it might take me a year. It might take me my whole life. I don't know. But I'm open to everything. So I bow to you for living in your truth. I bow to you for, standing in your power and helping women to do this,
Thank you.
And I know that you're guided from your soul. I could feel it. I feel a lot of things before I even say things. I know who I am. I know I've studied myself for a very long time, so I know who I am. So thank you for being of service to the broken hearts out there, to recognize how beautiful you are in your suffering, because I'm looking at you, like we're doing video and everyone's listening to this in audio, but I'm looking at you and I could feel you, and I feel so many parts of you, but I feel this deep love that you have inside of you that maybe you haven't recognized yet, because I'm feeling a different part of you. But I know that you're going to get to that point. And I know that as you're helping other women through this place, You guys are all like, it's a rising in women, absolutely. But right now I feel it's a rising in men too, to become more sacred, to recognize what they do, to allow themselves to be who they are. And that's why I love the divine masculine as much as I love the divine feminine. And I've had people say to me, Zach, you have a good balance of both. And I'd be like, yeah, because I've seen my past lives as a masculine, like I get it. I know I've been the fighter. I got my neck chopped off. That's why I had thyroid cancer. Like I get it. Right. So I feel you. And, I know the work that you're doing with other women, that you give your all, because the suffering that's sat inside of you, you don't want anyone to feel that.
No, but at the same time I do.
Because that's where they're learning from.
That's where the medicine is.
Exactly.
That's why we don't, because it hurts.
Yeah.
Zach, it hurts. It totally hurts. And who wants to feel pain? Yeah. I know. I had a child by emergency C-section. That's pain. That
and
is
glory at the same time.
Yes, exactly. It's painful. We don't want to feel pain.
Yeah.
And that's why there's so much out there to say, don't feel it. Just get over it. And no, I don't want people to get over their heartbreak. Yeah. I want them to sit in it, marinate in it, feel it for what it is. Listen to it. What is it trying to tell you? Because it's always, the universe is awesome. And I'll tell you why. Because it sends us signs. Sometimes it sends us like a blazing, like neon, don't go down this road. And we're like, what? Huh? We just, we don't see it. The universe sometimes decimates our hearts this way, because it's trying to tell us it's time now for you to stop and do this work with yourself.
Yes. Yes.
So when you're in these repeating patterns, dating the same individual, getting the same results, it's the universe saying, okay, I'm trying to send you a memo and you're clearly not getting it.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
So it takes that one breakup, that one where, you know what, you've had your heart broken before, but now this time, this has rocked you to your core. It's in that moment when the time is right to take that space for yourself, clear out all the stuff, connect to that inner world, start your next chapter.
I just feel so beautiful as you're saying that. I just saw actually a beautiful flower come out of that. It's like, as you were doing your hand gestures, like you planted the seed, you watered the seed, and the flower came out. It's like, that was the vision I got as you were doing this. So it's so different when you're seeing the video aspect of it. And this is audio, I get it. But just visualize this as I'm speaking it to you, that you are the seed that grows into a beautiful flower that you are. And you have to choose what flower you want to be. And
think of it this way, Zach. Today, there is a lunar eclipse, a full lunar eclipse. And I love, love, love that we're having this conversation today, the day of the lunar eclipse, because I want to share something with you. For 2019, I have set the intention to not check any kind of horoscope or prediction or anything, because I want to really focus on my knowing. So when I hear of these celestial events, like today's eclipse, I sit back and think, what does this mean for me? And I have to get still. And it's another thing that I share with my clients, is to get still. Take that minute, quiet the mind, heart, body, and soul. Get still, listen to what comes. And what's coming is, now is the time to shift how I feel about my own self.
Yes.
It is time to shift from a place where I loathe and hate. And, I have tried every diet under the sun. I have done all these exercise routines to kind of get down to some kind of slim level, and just never accepted myself as I am. And now with this eclipse, as the moon and the earth, as the moon passes through the earth's shadow, I feel this is the time now to move into that next phase.
Yeah.
To try liking myself for a minute.
Loving, not liking, but loving.
Loving and seeing, I got to like myself first.
Yeah. Well, I love that you said that, because you can love everybody and yourself, but you need to like, because like and love are two total different things. So I love that you said that I need to like myself first.
I'm going to try this just for a little while and see where that leads me. All of this, as I'm talking to you now, Zach, all of this has come from the fact that moment when I held my son. This wisdom, this knowing, this strength, the fire I feel in my soul.
Yeah.
All of that has come from that one moment when I held my son for the first time. I have to thank him for that. And I thank the universe for everything that's happened to this point, because without all of these sequential events, I would not have come into this knowing. So yeah, there's an element of, so in that space where I was trying to, when I saw my world on fire and thought, oh heavens, what do I do now? Started with forgiveness. Then came gratitude. Then came acceptance. Then I started to plot out, what do I want for my life? What do I want it to look like? What kind of environment do I want my son to grow up in? And I got to work.
Yeah, I love that. You recognize so much about yourself in that process. Did your intuition strengthen when you had your son? Because I know a lot of people say, like, when they've given birth to their children, their intuition strengthened. Did you find that with yourself too?
Yes, I am an intuitive empath. Yeah. And it just skyrocketed after I gave birth. My son has empathic qualities. It's actually really funny. When I am anxious, and I don't really know that I'm anxious, I can see it in him. I can see the change in his behavior. When I'm, my mind is running, I have a million thoughts in my head and I can't seem to settle to sleep, he doesn't sleep.
Interesting. Yeah, you guys.
So yes, it's as an empath, I feel, and especially the knowing, I have the gift of discernment, and that just, I'd say over the last, year or so, my discernment gift has really come to light. But it's also me recognizing it, accepting it, and then beginning to understand it. So these I can use these gifts, and I love, love, love using these gifts with my clients. Absolutely, just it's how I can serve, and it's not even just about earning a living. It's about helping someone understand that treasure inside of them. I'm not doing anybody a service by not helping them see the wealth, the infinite wealth that's inside of them.
Yeah, that's very true. Someone said to me once, Zach, what book should I read to get to where you are? And I started laughing. I said, I've never read a spiritual book. And they said, you have never read a spiritual book? And I said, no. I said, I meditated for 6 hours a day and read my own book. It came from inside of me. I never read a spiritual book. That. And interesting enough, books fell off the shelf for me to read, and I would read them and be like, I feel like I wrote this. And you did. Because I got to know me. And I know, studying my past lives was so potent for me to recognize why I was attracting the people I was working with. I didn't understand that because it wasn't the people that, I don't want to say I didn't want to work with them, because I want to work with everyone, but it wasn't the so-called ideal client that I visualized I was going to work with. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Attracting these people, and they're all going through divorce, or they're all want to, the depression part, I understood because I went through depression for a reason. So I worked with people going through depression and got them up and all, but I didn't understand that until I tapped into that. And I have one of my clients, she's been with me for 6 years. And I always say to her, go say someone else, like, get out of here. Right. And she always laughs. She goes, why do you always kick me out? And I'm like, I'm not, I'm just telling you to go explore yourself. And she goes, nope, I can't. She goes, Zach, I start studying you. So now for the last year, she starts studying me. And I don't know how she's studying me, but she asks me like the most, I want to say these deep questions. And once she asks me those deep questions, I give her the answer, and she calls me the Messiah. That's why I was cracking up jokes. So she calls me her Moshe. She goes, see, I knew that, I know there's something inside of you that you still don't share with the world. And every day she became my friend after, working with someone for 6 years. We have a good friendship now. We have a difference between working with one another. And she says, Moshe, she goes, you always told me to go look for other people to work with. She goes, but I couldn't do it because I know that you never taught me everything that you fully know.
Wow.
And I was like, no, I haven't taught you everything that I know, but you need to ask me the questions in order for me to bring you there. I said, if you don't ask me those questions, I know that you're not able to handle it. And I mean, she's the only one that sends me questions, and I'll say to her, give me a second, let me get to that part of me, because it takes me a minute to get there. And I'll give her the answer, and she's just like, okay, I got to marinate in this one. She goes, that's deep. That's deep. And that's what it is. And I invite everyone to get into that place of deepness and reverence, who they truly are, because who you are on the surface is not who your soul is from the divine space. So studying myself for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, I think it's more like 20 years when I had cancer, I got to know me on that level. And that's why I love every part that you said, because you're still getting to know yourself. It's been 3 years, and you're digging and you're clearing and you're activating, you're releasing and you're rebirthing and all this stuff. And people need to start somewhere. And that's the place where you find that suffering, you find that beauty, you find that.
Absolutely.
I learned more about depression. I learned more about my strength sitting in depression for 2 years than I would have ever learned in any book, and it's beautiful. So, kudos to you for giving yourself the permission to continuously rise. Kudos to you for helping other women, and, whatever man comes into alignment with you, to really get to that place, because you understand it. And healing together is the great place. When I was going through depression, Spirit say to me, take a client. I'm like, I don't want to take a client. I feel like fraud. I'm going to talk to someone about happiness and joy. Meanwhile, I'm going through suffering. And you know what the funny thing is? They weren't happiness and joy conversations. They're about depression conversations. They were messages for both of us, and these clients stuck with me, and they're just like, I remember when we were both going through depression together. I'm like, yeah, you remember those days? Like,
at the end of the day, we're human.
We're human.
We're human beings. We're having a human experience.
Yeah.
So it's if you are going through that, that's totally fine. This is part of your experience,
Exactly.
And I want to say something else is, somebody asked me one day if I do dating advice, and I said no. I'm like, what? Because breakup coaches, aren't you a relationship coach? And I said, I am not a relationship coach. No, that is not my forte. And then they said, but isn't that a little negative? Like, don't you help people date? And I said, no, I don't help people date. And I'll tell you why. Because I actually don't believe in dating. I don't believe in relationships. I believe in connections.
Beautiful.
We have, as humans, we develop connections. It's either there or it's not. We're there to discover if the connection actually exists. We just have to be cognizant of it. We have to be aware of it. So when you break up with someone, either that connection is lost or it's served its purpose.
Yes.
And it's really about recognizing that. Does that mean that while you're doing this inner work that people won't come into your space? Of course they will. But it's all about, do you have the bandwidth to recognize if there's a connection or not? Do you have the bandwidth even to recognize if there's a connection with you to you?
Amen.
Because if you can't recognize if there's a connection between you and you, then you sure as Hades aren't going to recognize a connection between you and anybody else.
Yeah, it's so true.
It's just not going to happen.
But you got to find your own soul to begin with.
Yeah. The people that we're meant to be surrounded by, the people that are going to lift us, to walk with us, they will come. There is nothing, the universe isn't going to stop them from coming, because, we're kind of having a timeout from life.
Yeah.
It's still going to happen. There will be people. I would rather at this stage find someone to walk beside me, I can dance by myself. I'm pretty good at it, I might say. I wouldn't mind having someone to dance with.
Yeah.
But does that mean that I am not complete? No, I am. We can be two souls walking alongside each other instead of two souls enmeshed with one another.
Oh, I love that you said that. Woo, all sorts of feels on this one. Oh, wow. This conversation has taken us to so many different energies.
I love it.
I
love it.
Love this conversation that we're having. So we're coming up to our hour here, and I want to ask you one question.
Yes, ma'am.
The question is, for every woman out there that is doubting leaving her partner, what is it that she should look for? What are the red flags?
How do you feel when you go to bed at night? Are you happy? Are you feeling regret? Are you feeling fear? If it's a dangerous situation for yourself or your children or your loved ones, no question, go. If you are feared for your safety to yourself, that, like I said, no question, go. If it's not a situation like that, but for some reason you are just not feeling that you're getting everything you need, you do not need permission to walk. Who says you need to stay in a situation for the sake of the children, for the sake of what people might think, for the sake of your reputation, social status, whatever? You do not need permission to stay in a situation where you are not safe, secure, happy, fulfilled, any of that.
Oof. Ladies, gentlemen, ladies, or gentlemen, whatever, whoever is listening to this podcast right now, those are some seriously, they might feel like seriously hard words to swallow, but you know what? The truth sometimes is hard to swallow and to recognize, because it hurts, but yet it does, as you know, set you free from all the suffering once you recognize that. Althea, thank you, girls, so much for this. This has been like, I mean, I could tell every guest on this show and every podcast I could talk to you forever, because there's so much amazingness that you bring to the world, even through the suffering that you went through. It's so much amazingness that you bring to the world and helping these women find their truth. So thank you for finding yours, and thank you for being that light and vessel to other women that are going through this, or men, you know, whoever it may be. But thank you for all this. Thank you for being on the podcast and standing in your own grace and power and shoes. Because
thank you.
Beautiful.
Zach, thank you for holding the space for us to have this conversation on this day of the full eclipse. I am truly, truly honored. And let's do this again, if I may say.
Yes, let's do this again, for sure. I'd love to do this again. Let's get this conversation going. And because I think 2019, there's going to be a lot of, I've said this even last year, there's going to be a lot of divorce, you know, men rising, women rising, disconnection happening, pride getting in the way, ego getting in the way, imprints, beliefs, suffering. You could maybe hear your parents saying it's embarrassing to get a divorce. What's everyone going to think? Like all that European noise that I was brought
Time to throw it out the window.
Time to throw that all out. So yeah, let's get back on this conversation again
in
the near future, and let's work through this, because it's beautiful. It's so sacred and so divine to know that, you know what, you're not alone. You're truly not alone, you know? So anyone that's going through any sort of breakup or any sort of divorce and are looking for a coach, a mentor, a healer, a channel to heal through this process, give Althea a call, connect with her. Everything is in the show notes, all her social handles, her emails, her websites, everything's there. So stand in your power, beautiful men and women, and really rise up to be who you truly are, and to let go of the old suffering that you're holding on to, and just be authentically you and in that space of grace. So guys, thanks for listening to this Wise Women Wednesday episode. We'll catch you again next week. Remember to stay blessed, stay infinite, and always stay grateful for who you are in the eyes of the divine. Until next time, have yourself a beautiful day. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Unfuck Your Mind. Head over to iTunes and leave your 5-star review and comment to get Uprising the charts so we can get this incredible wisdom into more ears worldwide. In the show notes, you'll find all affiliate links to what we've mentioned in the podcast or products Zach loves to use. Until we connect again, unfuck 1% of your thoughts and watch how your life shifts.